We are live on Broadcast Row at CPAC 2024. Andy Mangione for the Better for America podcast, or AMAC's Better for America podcast. Wonderful to welcome to the podcast Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. Coach, thank you so much
The
for
only
taking
coach in the Senate.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here, Andy. Thank you.
You know, we were talking off camera about education issues, and I was mentioning to you how AMAC is a member-driven organization. Our members put the issues for which we advocate in our portfolio. They are gravely concerned about the state of education. They're gravely concerned about what their children and grandchildren are being taught in schools, the transgender issue, CRT. So we find ourselves fighting this fight, and we know that we have an advocate in you.
Devastating. And one of the reasons I ran for this seat, because being a coach, I traveled to all 50 states recruiting over the last 35 years. I'd look at transcripts. I'd talk to teachers, counselors, shocked at what we're teaching our kids, and what we're not teaching our kids too. That we don't teach them to read or write or science or history anymore. We make it all up. That's the reason, Andy, we need school choice. We're ruining our inner cities. Our inner city kids have no chance because they're all indoctrinated by our teachers' unions, and our teachers' unions control everything. That's fine. I call them government schools. They want to have government schools and teacher unions. Do what you need to do. But if we get school choice, you're going to see a mass exodus of parents getting their kids out of these schools because, number one, we're teaching very simple maths in these high schools. In China, they're teaching calculus and algebra in elementary school. Right. We can't keep up. We cannot continue to dumb down our country. Kids can keep up if we'll teach them that. But what we're doing is we're trying to say, well, let's make everybody the same. Well, they are making everybody the same. They're making everybody stupid through education, and we cannot continue to do this. So I speak to a lot of young groups and go to schools and speak, and that's one thing I push. But school choice would help this country so much to be able to take that $8,000 or $10,000 that their parents pay taxes and go to heck where they want to go to school and get away from this woke.
Absolutely, and a lot of people double dip. They're going to write that tuition the tuition check to a classical school or a parochial school, and they're still paying their taxes. Are we close to school choice? I mean, what are your efforts? Do you have colleagues that agree with you in the Senate?
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of people in the Senate. The problem is most of them are on the Republican side. If you're a Democrat, you're 100% union, and you're not for the students first, you're for unions first, and that's wrong. And so that's one reason they're going to get run out of Dodge. But we got to get somebody in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in White House that believes in the same thing. Joe Biden, I don't know what he believes, but the people that tell him what to believe, they don't believe in school choice. Every other word out of their mouth is union. Mm-hmm. And, there's some places for unions in this country. Education's not one of them. Teachers are there to teach and promote our country and promote our history, our science, but we're not doing that now. We're promoting this diversity, equity, and inclusion, this woke social agenda. And if we don't get away from it, Andy, we won't make it as a country that you and I had an opportunity to grow up in.
And wasn't that long ago?
No. Okay, seemed like yesterday.
No, exactly right. The older I get, the faster time goes. But no, I can clearly remember when I was in grade school, when I was in high school, we used to look at California. Those schools used to be the model for the nation in terms of the students they were producing, how well they did on standardized tests, and how in the colleges to where they were accepted. We don't have that anymore.
No.
What we have now, and we could also look at the immigration situation and its influence on education.
Yeah.
7.2 million people admitted to this country illegally, and if they're a voting age, they're going to try and sign them up to vote, but they're also in our schools watering down the education of everybody else.
Well, you're exactly right, and everything goes back to education.
Yes.
One thing you didn't mention is our ACT and SAT scores this past year were the worst in 25 years in the United States of America. I want you to think about that. The worst. And so we're going the opposite direction. And why? Because the Biden administration does not want anybody to really be educated enough to understand how bad their policies are. But now let's go to the border. Border is atrocious. Okay, it's the biggest disaster to ever happen in the United States. We're being overrun. We're being overrun by some people that want to come here for the right reasons, but a lot of these countries are emptying their jails, their prisons. They're shipping them here. We're going to have a tough problem on our hands. Law enforcement is going to be overwhelmed. The military is going to be overwhelmed. But you know who's being overwhelmed? The high schools in our country and the grade schools. they're having to take these young people into their schools. And I know in Alabama, there's one group that just a couple of years ago, they were about 15% Hispanic. Now they're upwards of 80 to 90% Hispanic. And they can't control it. So we're being overwhelmed in education. So who's it hurting? It's hurting true American kids. Mm-hmm. It's our healthcare system's being overrun. We don't have the healthcare we used to have. And now I've got a new bill on the floor that says, Joe Biden, you cannot give veterans VA money and facilities to these illegals, but they're doing it. They're taking veteran money. Now, we have 20 million veterans in this country, and we're having a tough enough time to help, the 20 million. But now they're throwing all these illegals in the lines with veterans. It is going to be devastating. So those of you out there listening, if you're a veteran and you're thinking about voting for a Democrat, well, vote to give your money away, because that's what you're going to do. You're giving your VA money to illegals coming into this country.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate your advocacy on behalf of veterans. A lot of AMAC members are veterans. We've been on the same bills as you have proposed with regard to making sure that VA resources are spent directly for our veterans and not for people here illegally. Please keep fighting the good fight. We appreciate your efforts, and God bless you.
We're going to fight for our veterans and our law enforcement and our military. Those are the three areas that everybody's important. But if we can't stand up for those three groups, Andy, I don't know if we can make it as a country.
You're here, sir.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you.